Okay, so we'll attempt to solve this assembly drawing. Okay, so we have some figures 1 to 4. I'll show you. That's figure 1, by the way. So some figures 1 to 4, and these are only model designs of an electrical switch. The switch base, the base should be this one. Right, so the switch base consists of 4 holes to support the base to a wall, 2 L blocks to house the switch, and figure 1 is the switch, and 2 buses. The electrical and electronic parts have been modeled as a simple block called a switch. Right, so the electrical and electronic parts, all those things, we just representing that with a switch. Okay. Now the switch is obviously controlled by a toggle and screwed to the switch plate. So this is the toggle, and the entire thing is screwed onto the switch plate, which should be this one. Okay, so the switch has a base of 80 by 80 millimeters and a height of 120, and there is a draft in all directions with an angle of 5 degrees. Now within the switch plate, uh, there is a slot which is at the geometric center. The switch base and the plate have a shell of 2 millimeters. All other fillets and rounds, we are to use 1 millimeter, and all parts are made from plastic. Okay, so we have to solve all of these problems. Now, if you look at I is under detailed drawings, and I think we've already solved some examples on that. So we'll let that go. And then we are going to do some linear and geometric tolerances under II. I think we are also familiar with those already. Now, the focus of this exercise is going to be on III, where we are to produce a general assembly drawing of the electrical switch containing all the parts with balloons, part list, and at least one reference dimension. So that's what we're going to be focusing on for this exercise. So let's switch on over to AutoCAD and start. Okay, so like I was saying, if you are using AutoCAD, you would be fine. You can still go ahead and use that. It's only that most of the things you would have to do them manually, especially when it gets to the part list creation and those aspects. You would have to do all those ones manually. But apart from that, you should be fine, even on AutoCAD. Okay, so we'll switch to 3D modeling, and then we can dock that and choose maybe southeast isometric. Okay, now usually you'd have to type the UCS icon, and then you can always select no origin. That will move this to the corner for you. Okay, so well, I guess at this point we can what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have to model all the parts given for the switch, and you would also, then and again, there are two methods, right? So you can just draw everything in 2D for the general assembly and you are fine. What I would prefer to do is I just would model everything rather in 3D and then put them together to get the general assembly. Okay, so I'll start with the switch. Okay, so with the switch, if you look at the dimensions given, right, look at the dimensions. So we have 30 here, and then that portion there should be 40, and then the height should be 33 if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so let's go back and then draw that. Okay, so I'll just use a box, and then let me switch to top. So I'll start somewhere there, and then I know the dimensions are, that portion there should be 30. Then hit tab, that was 40. Then I can hit enter. Let me zoom into it, right click, and then maybe pan, escape. And the height we calculated was 33. So that's for the body of that. If I were to switch to conceptual, okay, so that is what we have. And then there is that portion. So let's draw that in place. Okay, so still on top, I'll go for line. Actually, I would prefer to start with a circle, center radius method. So, and this radius will be 4.25, like that. And then another circle, this time let me use center diameter, and this should be 4.5. Then I'll get line. So from that point there, let me turn on the ortho mode. That should be 10. 10. Join that. Now I can go for trim and trim this aspect. Then I can extrude the entire thing by 18. So let me go for press pull and pull this. That's 18. What I'm going to do is I would make a copy of the entire thing. So copy. Let me put a copy here. Okay, so let me switch to the other corner. Okay, so I want to move that one by this point and put it on that corner, like that. And then if you look at the distance from the bottom, if I were to click on this and then click on this portion, I can move this, and that distance there should be 5. Okay, so and then enter. That's good. So now we'll click on this, right click rather uh, uh, on the axis, close to the axis, you rather right click and you select rotate, and we want to rotate by the Z axis by 180 degrees. So I turn that this way, I click, then hit escape. Now let me turn this around that way. So I'll go for move once more, then select this, hit enter, then I'll get this point, and then let's put that there. Now, like I did earlier, I can click on this. This time, let me right click and go to move. And I want to move by this axis, and I want to move by a distance of 5, and then enter. Hit escape. Okay, so now we need to cut out the groove where the toggle is going to sit. I'll switch from word maybe to right, like that. And then the dimensions required, I'm looking for the dimensions of this cutout, right? So you can take a moment to get them. All right, so I can start with a line. So some vertical line. That line should have a height, if I'm not mistaken, of 6. So I have 6, and then I can go in this direction by 24, and now I can go down. That obviously should be 6 again. So I'll now leave that be, and then there is a circle or a semicircle of radius of 2 at the center. So I'll go for a circle. Let me be sure the radius is 2. So let me select the center radius, and then that's the center of that. So the radius should be 2, like that. Okay, so line, and then the angle should be 26.57. Then I can extend until it touches that. Now I can mirror that line by the midpoint, like that. So we mirror. Now I can go for trim. So trim, and I can trim good, right? So I trim them all. So I would join them and then pull them. So J for join, and I can pull them by 12. So 12. Okay, so I'll switch to maybe wireframe, and then I'll go for move, click on that, hit enter, and then I want to move this by its center, the geometric center, which should be here, and I want to put it at the center of this part, which should be there. And then I'll go for subtract. So I'll click on this body, enter, then click on that body, enter. Then if I were to switch back to conceptual, you see that I will now have my part drawn in full. So that's figure 1. That's the switch for us. So you click on union, and then you click on 1, 2, and 3, and hit enter. Okay, and now that becomes one part. So we're done with the switch. We can go to the toggle. Okay, I won't delete these ones yet. Let them be there for now in case I need to reuse any of them. Okay, so for the toggle, which is this, let's draw that in place. Okay, so let's switch to right, like that, and then I'll go for line. So the length here also on. So length here, that's going to be 22, and then we're coming down by 4, I believe. Okay, then of course we can do same on this side, so that's 4, and I have some circle which is located at midway in between these 4 lines. So I'd go for circle, and that circle has a radius of 2, so center radius, so midway, and then down by 3, and the radius should be 2, and then I can offset the 22 line by a distance of 2. So I'll now use a line. Now that line also would commence somewhere. I'll track a distance of 2 from here, so 2, and then this distance here should be 5.5, which is half of 11, and then I can connect this to that line. I can continue from here, so 5.5, and then connect this to that portion. Now I can go for trim and trim this portion and that portion, and of course here, and then I can select them all, J for join, and then pull it by 12. So pull this by 12, and that should be the switch or the toggle figure 2. So let's go back to world, and next I have the switch base. Okay, so for that it has dimensions of 80 and a height of 25, so we could use a box. Okay, so 80, and then tap 80, and then up by 25. So that is what we have, and I can in here click on this, select shell, click on the outer body like this, and then remove faces. Click on this top portion. You want to remove that face. Now you hit enter, and the thickness we are told is 2, so you enter 2, and then you type in 2, and then you hit enter like that, and that gives you this. We hit escape. So what we can do next is we can draw the, let me switch to wireframe, and then center diameter method. I'll track a distance of 13 from here, and then this should be 8.5. Okay, and Now there is a hole going through it, and that's diameter 4.5. So let me use center diameter. Diameter is 4.5, and I'll mirror the entire thing. Go for no. So there is a hole of diameter of diameter of 3.3. So center diameter, and that is located 10 here, 10 there. So let me just get a line, and then so 10 here, and then I'll go this way by 10, and that will be the center. So now I can click that point and put in my 3.3. Okay, I would select this and mirror it like so. Erase source object obviously is no, and now select those two, mirror them, erase source object is no. Okay, so there is that, and then there is the L for me to draw. So for the L, I go for line. Okay, and the distance from this center point or this midpoint to where the L begins should be 21, right? So line, I'll track this by 21. It should be somewhere there. Then I go this way by 21.89, and that way 17.5, and 2 here, whatever this is, and then line, so 2 here, and then that's now I can trim these portions. Okay, so I would mirror. Let me first join. So J for join, and then mirror. Select this, and then mirror them, or mirror it to get that. I don't want to erase, and I'll select this and mirror it to get that. Enter. Now this one obviously is not required, so this is what we have. I can now go back to conceptual, and then maybe like that. Let me up it. Okay, so I can go for press pull, and I can pull this by 25, right? And I can do same for this, that should be 2, and the same. Need to be careful with the selection, so this, that should be 2, and then I have this one, that should be 25 as well. And these are holes. Unfortunately, they were drawn away from the base, but that's just fine. I can just press pull them, so I can select this and then pull through it. So I'm pulling so that it goes through the entire thing. Okay, so for the holes, they were drawn somewhere away from the base. That is fine. So I'll just pull it through this. I expected it to, to do the cutout for me, but that's fine. I will subtract them. Okay, so I have these. I'll just go for subtract, select this object, and then enter. And now I'll select 1, 2, 3, 3, and 4, and hit enter. Then it casts out them for me. Okay, so this is the switch base. What you don't want to forget is that we have to do a fillet of 1. So there is fillet here, and the radius, click on radius, then you can select 1, and around this bottom part here 1, enter, and then we do it again for this portion. So we select fillet, our radius is 1, so put in 1 and then enter. Now you can select this portion and hit enter, and enter again. Then the same thing. So we click back on fillet and then click on that portion. Radius is 1, hit enter and enter again. And that is that. And now we need to fillet. I will go back for fillet, radius, that is 1. Let's click on multiple, and then we want to select this edge, hit enter. We can now maybe click on chain, select this edge, that edge, click on that corner. Then we want the back here, hit enter. Okay, so let's go back for fillet and then multiple. Of course, the radius is 1, so we can select that edge, enter, and go for chain, get this edge. Now we go to the back, right, all around it. Make sure we've selected everything, and then we hit enter. Okay, and enter again. Okay, and that will be the switch base. So we have now to do the next, we can do the last one, which is the switch plate. Okay, so for the plate in the question, we are told that it's 80 by 80 with a draft of 5 degrees and a thickness of 2. Okay, so let's draw a rectangle to represent the dimensions. So 80 plus 2, that's 82. So 82, 82, and then enter. Okay, so I'll go for offset through a distance of 2, and I'll select this and offset it by a distance of 2. I'll select this one, click here and move it up by a distance of 12. Now I'll go for extrude and select this one right there, hit enter. Now in here it will ask me for a taper angle, so I'll click on taper angle and put in 5, hit enter. And now let me take this down. We know the height is 12, so that is 12. So I'm just going to press pull this one downwards through the height that I've calculated, which is 22, and I expected a cutout, but it's fine. So I will do the cutout myself. So I'll just go to subtract, select this, enter, and then I'll select that and then enter. Okay, so this will be the body of the switch plate, and of course there has to be a cutout for the toggle. So let's do that. So let's go to maybe top. Let me change here to top. I'll turn off the grid here, and then for simplicity's sake I'll just draw this in. That's the slot I want to cut out, so that should be 25 and 12.5, like that. And I'll just move that. So I'll just go for move, select it, and I want to move it by use geometric center and put it at the geometric center of this. That helps. And then I have okay, so I'll just go for press pull, select this, and then pull through the other direction. Let me go to home. So let me just pull through it, and I expect again a cutout, but so let me just go to subtract and then do it myself. So I'll select this, enter, and then I'll select this body, enter. So now I have the cutout. So I'll select this, then I want to rotate by the x-axis like that, then hit escape. That's 180 degrees, by the way. Okay, so what we need to look at would be how to interpret this. So let's take a look at what that is. Okay, so I'll turn the let me switch to top, and then maybe I can turn off the grid. Okay, so I have some hole of diameter of 9.4. So let me calculate where the hole is supposed to be. It's going to be some point which is 25 minus 6.25, that is 18.75. So if I went for the center diameter method, so from this point I can track 18.75, and this is where the hole of diameter 9.4 is going to be. So I guess I can mirror it. So let's mirror it. And then no. So can we pull through that? So I pull all the way through, then I come for this, pull all the way through. Okay, so I'll now click on this, on the axis. I'll right click and then go for rotate, and rotate it by the x axis. I want 180 degrees like that. Okay, so what I am going to do, let me just delete those two, click on them and delete that. I'll delete this one as well. Now I'll go for another circle, and of course I want this, the diameter is 9.4, and another one, and this one should be 4.5. It's quite difficult to get. Okay, so let's move this up so that we can use it. Let me right click and go to move. I'll move this up by, is it 10? Yes. And now I'll pull this circle by 10, and then pull the smaller one through the entire thing like that. Okay, so that is selectable. Once that is selectable, I would use 3D mirror, which is this one. Click on that. So we have to specify first point of mirror line. I'll specify this point. Then the second point, I'll specify that point. And then third point will be vertical. Delete source object, of course I'll say no. And that will be that. Now for the 3D mirror, you need 3 points, which represents a plane. So where I clicked was this point, that point, and then any vertical like that. So obviously these two lines form the boundaries of a plane. What that means is that this can go here all the way. So if you track, okay, so line, so from here, and then of course this can connect to that. So right. So again, for 3D mirror, you need 3 points. First point, second point, and then some vertical. Other than that, it wouldn't work. Okay, so that is what we have. That was only to explain that. Let me explain it. Let me delete those. Okay, so we've been able to do this and that, which on this bottom isometric view is this one right here and that. Now we are left with the 8 millimeter diameter, 8.5 diameter, you know, protrusion. So, and then the hole that goes through it is 4.5. Okay, so how do we locate that? Let's go back. Okay, so what we can do is I am going to one way or the other start the assembly. So I'll go for move, and then I'll move that by that point and make sure you get the correct position. So that corner, that's where it goes like that. And then uh, I'll change this to the top view and then click here on top, and I will maybe change to 2D wireframe like that. So the distance between those two, should be the distance between these two, because after, let me go back to conceptual and then, okay, so after assembling this one right here, this feature is going to mesh up with uh this feature right here, and then this one here on the, so this feature on the block is now going to sit inside the new protrusion that we want to draw, which is this one, the 8 millimeter, 8.5 diameter one, right? Okay, so we are looking for the distance between the two. Okay, so if we go back to what we've assembled, this is the distance between those two. So if I'm able to measure those distances, I can use that to draw them here. So that's one technique you can do, or you can calculate from the original drawings given, and it still would work. Okay, so let me now go back to top and then change to, okay, so I'll go to annotate and then power dimension and dimension. Okay, and that's 15.86. So you can perform manual calculations to confirm. Okay, so let me go back then. So I'm still within, let me go back to top. I'll remain here. I'm safe here. Now I'll pan. Okay, and to be safe, let's make sure that the switch here is aligned in the same direction as this. Okay, so let's go back here and conceptual, and then let's click on that, come to the axis, click on rotate, and then I'll rotate that by around the axis in blue, which should be Y, so by 90 degrees, and then hit escape. Okay, so I'll just go for circle, looking at the diameters given, and center diameter method. So center diameter method, and I'll track, so a distance of 15.86, and the diameter given is 8.5, and there is another one which should be diameter of 4.5, so half of that is 2.25. Okay, so this is what we have, and then we can go back to the 3D, perhaps change to conceptual. Okay, so it looks distorted. Let's right click here and choose parallel. Okay, so I can now extrude them. Let me select this one, then move it down by 10, and then go for press pull, pull it up by 10, and now I can go for press pull again and pull this one through. It's supposed to go through a distance of 10, like that. Okay, so that is done. Now I'll select that feature. Okay, so let's go back to top. Then unfortunately I will have to resketch the entire thing. So okay, so let's do the exact same thing on the other side. So center diameter, so I'll track this 15.86, and then I have 4.5, and the other one should be 8.5. Okay, now I can go back to so press pull, you want to be able to pull that downwards by 10, and then this one, the smaller one, by 10 as well. Okay, so basically this is what we would have. Make sure you are consistently saving your work. Okay, so to assemble, we've already put the switch in the base. So we can put the toggle on top of the switch, which shouldn't be anything too difficult. Okay, so to continue, we already have the switch within the base, so let's look at the plate. Let's go to union and union these. So enter, and then we'll get this. We want to rotate it above or about the z-axis. So you click and then 90 degrees, and then I also want to rotate it upside down, so that will be about the y-axis. So like that. Then I can hit escape, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it. So for the base point, I want to use the center of that, and then I put it here. Let me turn off the auto mode. So here, all right, like that. And then I'll go for this, so I'll just click on it. At this point, let me right click, go to move it a little bit closer, click, and then now let's click on M for move. Let's click to select. We'll get the concentric, the center of the circle, which is this. Make sure you get that, and then we want to get the center of this circle as well, so that is that. Okay, so if we switch to the top view and got it in wireframe, okay, all the holes are perfectly aligned. All right, so let me go to the front view, switch to conceptual, and then if I were to click on this, on the plate, you'd see that the plate will have to go up until it flashes just with the switch. So I move it up and then click to position it in place. If I were to switch back to wireframe, okay, so something like that. Okay, so conceptual or even realistic, and then okay, so this basically would be the assembly. Let's look at it from the top. Okay, it looks well. Okay, so maybe at this point, okay, good. So you make sure, Okay, so let's look at the generation of views. Of course, we would need to go to layout, right? So I would go to layout 2, layout 1, layout 2, whichever one. So say layout here, then delete whatever we have here. Now we can click on layout and then go to page setup, modify, and change this to PDF high quality. I will change this as well to ISO A3, and then we can close this for now. Okay, so we can go to base, and then from model space. So this will basically be our front view, so we can click to position it as it, and then the top view, the left side view, and then isometric. Hit enter. Now you could have right click here, go to drafting standard, make sure you're in first angle. That's fine. Why don't we make this 3D? So double click on it, make it shaded. Okay, so we'll have that. And then per the question, we are supposed to generate the assembly views or any other sectional views which will be of help. Now looking at what we have, I would like to actually section through them to review what's going on in there. So of course, section, I'll use the offset section in this case. You'd have to decide which is good for you. And then I click on view. This is the parent view I want to work with. So I'll track that point and then click there. I want to go through this and then go through that, go through this as well, and then finally that, and come out this way. And that would give me this view. So exit, right? So I'm going to click on this and move it downwards, and then perhaps click on the front view and move that away for now. Okay, so I am going to do another offset view. So I'll go for section and then offset, and of course I'm going through this. So I would track this point here. So click through here and then there, and I want to go through the midpoint of that. So here, and then I'll go through here, and finally outside. Hit enter, and then click to position it and exit. And this will be the view DD that I get. Okay, so these section views are preferred to the front views. So in fact, is it possible for me to delete this? So I'll delete those two views, and I'll select this, right click, and now I'll select the view itself, right click and go to rotate. I'm going to rotate that by 90 degrees. So like that. So I would use DD in place of my side view. Okay, so this is what I prefer to use as my views, whereas also to produce to balloon the parts and then produce a part list. There's an automatic way of doing it, but sometimes AutoCAD mechanical is misbehaving, so we'll try to use something a semi-automatic method to do that. So we'll go to annotate, and then in here we'll look for balloons. If you are not on mechanical and you are using AutoCAD, you'd have to use leader lines or multi-leader to be able to do that. So balloons, and then I'll be asked in here, you need to go and click on manual. Like I said, you could have done it automatically, but okay, so I'll now select, of course, this is the toggle, so I'll click on it, and then I'll put in its name. Okay, so you fill in this, the name and description, keep it the same, and then quantity is 1. So okay, now for start point, you can click anywhere that points to the feature like that, and then you can move. So you can place the balloon maybe somewhere there, and you hit enter. So item number, I will make it 1. Right, so just double click on it. This would appear, and then you make the item number 1. That's all. Okay, so I'll repeat that for the other parts. So balloon again, you have to go for manual, and then this should be our plate. So I'll click on the plate, and then put in the details. So all of that quantity is 1, and then you would okay that. Now you click here, this is where you want to put it. Uh, then maybe you can just click and hit enter. Uh, Double click on that and then change the item number to 2. We do we do that once more. So balloon, and then this time around we'll go for the switch, which is in here. Click on manual, and then you click on this body. Okay, so these details, and then you can okay that, and then we can put that in from there. And this should be 3, and would have to do that again. So balloon, then the last one should be the base, manual, and then you select that. Okay, so all of these details in place, and would okay that. So click, and then you hit enter. Let's double click on this and change it to item number, that is 4. Okay, so you click on BOM, this is what we get. I can okay that, and then now I click on part list. I'll be asked to select, let me go back, click on BOM or BOM, and then in here I want to select standard and remove that column, and then select measurement and remove that column as well. Now I would okay that, and then I'll go to part list. I'll be asked to select BOM. I'll just hit enter, and this is the bill of material I have. So I'll just click on in here. I still have standard, so right click and then remove that. Okay, and you click on OK, and then you'll be asked to put it, so you can put it here. And like I said, I don't want it this way. I want the headings to rather be on top. So for that, what we should have done is should rather choose top right like this, and then we would okay that, and this will be our bill of materials. Okay, so the reference dimension, you may ignore that, or you can look at that in your own time. So that solved the general assembly problem for us. For the dimensions aspect, I'm quite sure you can put in the general dimensions. Now mind you, this is a general assembly drawing, so the only dimensions required will be the overall dimensions and how the parts, the dimensions needed when the part or when the switch is in operation. So most importantly, on this, the dimension that you may want to look at will be here, this distance here, right? So this dimension here, and then perhaps this one. So let me just go to baseline and select this as my baseline, and the next point is this, right? So some of the most important dimensions on the general assembly drawing, as you know, would be um, the dimensions required when the equipment or the component, when the equipment or the machine or the mechanism is in operation. And this is the only movable part of our design. So this is very important, and then all the others will be the general dimensions or the overall dimensions required. So I'm confident you'll be able to continue from this point forwards. Now it looks like it takes quite some time before you are able to put all of this, or you're able to draw all of this. But the most important thing you should know here is that you already have a lot of information to help you to answer some other questions. So if we went back here, you were asked to do a detailed drawing of the switch and the toggle, and you've already done that. So if you look at the if we went back and looked at that, so it will be very easy for you to continue from there. So say for instance so you can add a new layout 3, and that could be your detailed drawings, right? So you still may want to do your page setup, so you can go to layout and still do your page setup. Okay, so here you can go to base from model space, and it appears you have the entire thing. So what you can do is you can go to model space selection, and then you want the toggle and the switch. So what you can do is you can go to remove, and then you want to, everything is selected, that's why you are getting everything. So you want to remove this, you want to remove that, uh, and then you may want to remove the switch which is inside there as well. So the best way to do this will be for you to explode it so that you can get the component you want. So this is the switch. I have the switch, I can just return, and then in here I can just drop them. Again, like I said, what you are getting is the toggle and the switch together, if you can see. So what you may want to do is, if you went to the model space, you can now maybe get the switch alone and then move it up a little bit. Let me move it up by 40, like that. And then when I go back to the layout here, uh, when I go back to the layout, let me delete all of this, and then I can, so within layout I can go for model from, and then instead of getting everything, I'll go for model space selection, and then here I'd say remove. So I'll remove the switch, the plates, and the base, so I'm only left with the toggle, and I'll return, and then I can just place them here. Maybe what you want to do is you want to increase the you want to increase your scale. So this will be your front view, so your top view, your side view, and then uh, that. I don't know if I've done the views correctly, but it appears okay. So let's try that again. So now you can go to base from model space, and then model selection here. What you've done is that because we've moved the toggle up a little bit, now it's distinct. I can go to remove, and then I will deselect the ones I don't want, and then I'm left with this, so I can return to layout. And when I get here, because of where I drew it, okay, so this becomes kind of my front view. So my front view would be this, and then top view, and then side view, and that. So this would be the solution for the toggle, and I can do the same thing. So I can go for base, from module space, and then I go to select. This time around, go for remove, and I'll remove the top, the base, and the switch. And you see the switch is selected in there, so I can just go to return to layout. And in the same vein, I can do the front, um, the top of it, the side view, and then I can do that, right? So you see that by going through the 3D process, I am able to solve lots of the questions in only one go, right? So it might take you a while before you'll be able to model all of them and then assemble together. But the moment you are able to do that, now it becomes easy from there. So if you want to cut a section view through any of them, let's say full section of this one, then maybe through the center you can cut here, then maybe cut there and put it here as your section view, right? Which is easy. If you wanted to do an offset section of this one, you can come in here and select this, right? And then let's say you move there, go through this point. Let me take my time, and then maybe turn on the ortho mode. So go through this part and go through that part and then out, right? And then hit enter. Now that can become our section view. So again, it takes a while for you to get here, but once you are able to produce all the models, it becomes easier and easier from there. Then from this point forwards, maybe what you can do is you just have to put in the dimensions required, and of course you can always go to dimension, and that's at this point that becomes somewhat easy. So you can put in all the dimensions required, and you should be fine. Right, so whatever dimension you need to put in place, you can do that without any kind of trouble. Okay, so I guess we can end it here, and then all the best and good luck.